tip says that every time you state what you want or believe, you're the first to hear it. It's a message to both you and others about what you think is possible. So don't put a ceiling on yourself. This is what the tip is saying, that every time you say what you want or believe, you're the first to hear it. It's a message to both you and others about what you think is possible. So don't put a shield on yourself. That is what the tip is actually saying. That don't put don't put a stop to what you can do, because whatever you have in your head is what is definitely going to be able to be executed. For example, if you're a business person who's very aggressive about something that you want to achieve, it can only be possible if you continue doing it in that way. So that is our business tip this morning. Now let's also get some motivation from our business quote. And of course, the business quote coming in from Christopher Morley says that there is only one success: to be able to spend your life in your own way. There is only one success: to be able to spend your life in your own way. There is only one success: to be able to spend your life in your own way. That is how you can easily tell that you're successful, according to what Christopher Morley is saying, that if you're able to spend life in your own way, minus moving on to someone else's script, or minus trying to emulate someone else's kind of lifestyle, driving life the way you feel is better for you, and trying to evaluate how your life has changed and how best you can be able to pull it off, is definitely a success that is unmentioned. And that is what this quote is actually telling us and trying to at least bring to us in full detail. And so surely you as an individual, you should as well know about that anyway. And yes, indeed, surely that is the quote for the day. Now today is a Friday, and in Uganda, for all our viewers in Kenya and Tanzania, you get to realize that, you see, Ugandan people are always noted to be the happy people, because of the fact that people will party all time, every day. And it's a, thank God, it's a Friday kind of vibe on such a day. That is because most of the people are always excited about leaving work, and Fridays normally giving you all the jibba jabba vibes all the time. And this time around in our social media trends, we take a little bit of a new twist. Now this twist is taking us to Fort Portal. Fort Portal is known as the tourism city in the country, and pretty much as you are heading out of your workplace today, maybe for those that will actually get off duty quite early, you can think of a destination like Fort Portal. Now let's have more of the reasons as to why you may choose Fort Portal as a destination for your weekend. This and more from our social media trends about what people have to say about the Fort Portal city. And now, besides that kind of situation, we get more details coming in from the Fort Portal every day. Now, this is at Fort_everyday. Baskets made in Fort Portal by at Rwenzori RSTC. Did you know Fort Portal and the whole Rwenzori region is one of the largest producers of baskets? Well, you do know now, and I hope I am one of the, not only the first one to know that Fort Portal is one of the largest producers of baskets, and of course, and the whole of the Rwenzori region within the East African region, of course. Then Mr. Moyo at Anzo Classic says the tourism city of Fort Portal is located in western Uganda, overlooking mountains of the moon, and it is the seat of both Kabarole district and Toro Kingdom, tagging Doreen Nyanjura on that particular one. So as you can definitely see, looking at Fort Portal as the tourism city, well, could be something that you can as well be involved in. Kabarole's finest at Wamanya Pius with a tweet that this was discussed, confirmed, approved and stamped as the only tourism city in Uganda. Visit Fort Portal and discover the unbelievables. Then Colin Cotis at Karujiri 97. Karuzike Palace is the royal palace of the Toro Kingdom. It was built in 1963 and later renovated by Colonel Gaddafi in 2001. It can be viewed from all parts of Fort Portal since it sits on the highest hill. It's worth a visit. That's according to Colin Coultis. Will be worth a visit indeed. It is. That is according to Colin Coultis with that update. Now, Terrace UG Safaris at Terrace Safari says that the beautiful land of Fort Portal, simple but yet so amazing. Want to relax your thoughts? Then move on to Fort Portal and see how it is done that way. Now, Michelin at Motuzo_M says Fort Portal needs to get a food delivery thingy, apparent app or something, because so according to Motuzo, to all the people doing business in Fort Portal, you can actually think about which food delivery app can you come up with to make it very easier for people to access food, definitely, especially those who do travel. Now, Engineer Faisal at Piper Faisal says Fort Portal Road, oh my God, guys, the stretch between the Mobende and the Tiena has more potholes than the entire Kampala. Engineer Faisal at Paper Faisal with that particular social media trend tweet that you would definitely look at, also taking us back to the issue to do with potholes. Now, lastly, the Renzori Sustainable Trade Center, the RSTC, with a tweet, like a big harvest, but this is created by hand from the Renzori region. Hashtag RSTC, hashtag baskets, hashtag handmade. What you should as well know, that Fort Portal and the region of the Renzori is one of the largest producers of handmade baskets within the East African region. All right, it's Friday, and now let's look at more of the details to do with our business updates. This time around, we're heading to how to raise increased taxes and how can Ugandans be more tax compliant. You know, it is a right for you and quite mandatory for us to, in the same way, to pay taxes as good citizens of the country, and also formalizing of businesses so as to benefit from government programs as well. But some of the business people do believe it is better for the government to limit some of the tax incentives as well. But also in this update, you get to realize that there is a call on to empower people on how to benefit from different government loans that are being set up in details. Let's get more from this update.
Great engagement and very tricky, seriously. Because we are aware in Uganda compliance is not at the level we would have wished to be. As we in the business community, we decided to see how can we promote compliance. So I've liked some of the presenters. They have highlighted some of the vital information. For example, when I was engaging some of our members who are dealing in second-hand cars, and we are trying to process a facility to facilitate them for economic recovery, I discovered that majority of them, they don't have TIN numbers. And when I asked, then how do you try to carry out business? They told me, you cannot believe that even within a month, they can sell like 200 millions just for simple old second-hand cars. So the fact is that they were benefiting a lot not to comply, not to formalize. So I think with such a great engagement, formalization strategy, which the Ministry of Finance is championing, and then URA, will do a very vital role in trying to tax the high net worthy individuals. And then where somehow I'm deferring from my comrade who has presented here about the high net worth individuals and avoiding taxes using loans. I don't know. I've tried to access loans, but what I've discovered in Uganda that the loans are very expensive. So even if you avoid paying taxes and then you hide in the disguise of acquiring a loan, when I was trying to acquire a 100 million loan, I spent over 6 million. So it's so expensive. minus the rate. Even there are so a lot of requirements which are required. So what I think, formalization, when we formalize in businesses, we can clearly identify these individuals. That's why I like the presenter who highlighted that this informal sector individuals, they're becoming rich, even they're enjoying more benefits even than those comrades whom we think they are rich. Because basing on our survey, we have discovered that most of the comrades we think they are rich, by the way they are so broke. They are very poor. When we try to engage some of our members here in Kampala, you're finding that the banks are confiscating their security. They're auctioning them. Then that one is a very broke gentleman. If you are rich, we think that already you can meet your obligation. I don't think that there is any individual who would wish his asset to be auctioned. So with such engagements, it will enrich the reports to the Minister of Finance before implementation. We should not rush with implementing such policies, because even one time when I was listening to some presenters, I thought that can't this policy also encourage people not, we are trying to build the capacity of Ugandan business community. And you find now the economy is almost all in the hands of foreigners. You look at the banks, you look at the majority of industries, now in real estates. So how can we cater for these Ugandans who want to become rich?
And when she got the job, she was so zealous. She wanted to show the boss that she had a new innovation. So before very many people, she suggested, why don't we bring lifestyle audits? You see? And then all of us were saying, yeah, I think this is smart. And then she was guided that, you see, when you bring these things, they may do more harm. They may cause the thieves to take the money out of the country. So as a general disclaimer, we want to go after the rich people, but we don't want to push them out so that they take their loot outside the country, particularly for those that have gotten it that way. Secondly, no country has really managed to use this route, this kind of progressive taxation, to redistribute wealth successfully. Why? Some of the reasons he mentioned. You are asking the market to burn down the forest. So that becomes extremely difficult. So the excuse has been the informal sector is not paying tax. The informal sector is not paying tax. And everyone is parroting the same kind of thing. Now, we are saying that 68% of our taxes are indirect, meaning they are consumption taxes. So it means that as you consume, you pay. So now when you say the informal sector are not paying tax, then you're talking about something different. You're talking about direct taxes, you're talking about corporate tax and things of the sort. And, that's an entirely different kind of discussion. But looking at our trajectory, I don't see us shifting from indirect to direct taxes, in spite of their weaknesses. Now, in our context, when we talk about high net worth individuals, there are not many. And as he mentioned, and I would say this, even if there's a risk of contradiction, if you look at, the people building the businesses, setting up new arcades, new this, most of them are actually civil servants or politicians. That is the truth. It's very lucrative to work with government these days. You see? Now, they declare payee, of course, they are clean taxpayers, but we know that they are getting a lot of illicit wealth. And so if you're talking about high net worth individuals, apart from business people, this is also a group you really need to look at very carefully. But it's tied into my first statement. We need to tax the rich, but we need to also avoid overtaxation or bullying, and that should apply for the rich and for the SMEs as well. Unfortunately, the brunt has been directed towards very small businesses in this regard because of what I've mentioned, the stereotype. Formal sector, very big, they are not paying taxes and so on. Yes, it's true they could pay more, but in an indirect tax structure, I think we may not get as much as we think we can get from there. And I think my colleague, Mr. Nagenda, said that high net worth individuals are hiding in the SME sector. No, it was the gentleman from the Ministry of Finance, and Mr. Nagenda concurred. This kind of mindset, we should allow people to start and run businesses in the open. If we make the system extremely lucrative, extremely restrictive, we create the incentive for people to go underground. And it's hard now, I think, looking at the new innovations that URA is bringing, it's hard to make a lot of money and then you stay below the radar. It's very difficult. I don't see how you can do it. Now, on the issue of loans and tax, in finance, we call it the interest tax shield. You know, if you borrow money, you gain some benefits. These are general things that Uganda alone cannot change. It means that we just have to empower people to see how best they can take advantage of these kinds of things. And that's why we say we need to bring the cost of finance down so that SMEs don't have to rely on savings, on family and friends in order to get money. Now, my proposals. One, we need to have inheritance tax. Inheritance tax is not taxing the estate of the dead. There's a difference between inheritance tax and estate tax. Estate tax, the estate of the dead is paying tax. Inheritance tax, the guy receiving those things is paying tax. And there are thresholds. We can say if you're inheriting above 5 billion shillings, you pay tax. If you're a poor person and you're transferring 200,000, it's okay, don't pay tax. So I don't agree with an estate tax. I agree with an inheritance tax that has a threshold in order to ensure that we don't perpetuate these inequalities across generations. The loss declaration tax, I think this is extremely difficult. But I think we need to we could look at the presumptive tax kind of approach to say, you know, if you make this consistently for 10 years and you're not paying, pay this nominal fee. So I think that's something that's perfectly possible. Limit tax incentives. Yes, we should limit tax incentives, and we should support SMEs to also take advantage of these tax incentives. We should also raise the top income tax rates. We shouldn't make it flat, you see. Now, saying corporate tax is 30%, no. If you be above a certain kind of turnover or profits or whatever, you could pay a higher rate, and then if you pay less, if you get less, you could pay lower, so that it's, you know, it's more progressive in that way. He mentioned about taxing value, taxing wealth. I think that's extremely, extremely important. Beneficial ownership, I think that's being worked on. As I conclude, I want to say, if we have a very restrictive tax regime, there's a risk of people offshoring their wealth, again, which can create a bit of problem. So it means we have to create a balance. Yes, we have to go make sure that rich people pay their fair share. We have to ensure that SMEs pay their fair share, but we must have a business environment that allows people to start and run their businesses.
Well, when you look at some of the key issues to do with details, like, for example, taxes, tax incentives in that way, in that same space of how most of these particular businesses are operating, well, you get to realize that some of them are actually seeking for at least some, you know, how government is going to be able to raise taxes minus affecting those in business, because you get to realize these are the businesses that at the end of the day are paying these taxes, or are the ones rendering the remitting taxes to the taxman at the end of it all. But then when you look back at the number of businesses that have closed up in the country, the reason as to why it is so is that most of them have failed to meet up to the taxation levels, because the taxes do seem to be high to at least maintain the businesses. So the cost of businesses in the long run is actually making it even more worse. Now, also, if you're to look at the situation here, some of the private sector players are actually asking the government to make systems free for the people to work in open. Because now, when you look at one of the reasons behind the tax evasion here in Uganda is because some people are actually running away from the taxes. Instead of feeling free to pay these taxes, they do believe the best way is to run away from them. Now, people feel it is a burden to pay these taxes. And of course, according to other players, for example, the president representing the Federation of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, does believe also it is okay to tax, but overtaxing can cost the small and medium-sized enterprises. So we need to streamline on the issue to do with tax, on the issue to do with the kind of tax mobilization procedures that are available, and to make sure that the Ugandan business people will be tax compliant at the end of the day. Okay, and as we're now heading to the break, you should be able to at least have a business idea besides the kind of business that you do. Now, the business idea that I can actually think of right now is because the markets on the Zabu platform are officially opened, and you can use the USSD code *292#, get on with it, start investing with just a minimum of 15,000 Ugandan shillings. If you do have it now on your mobile money account, quickly do so and start your investment journey with Zabu. Zabu says you can buy, sell, and definitely engage in shares, bonds, investment in government bonds, and learn more about other products. You can definitely select a preferred maturity period for the bond that you wish to invest in. And well, with Zabu, you only need a mean to register. After registration, in the next 24 hours, you'll be able to invest. The markets open at 8:15 a.m. and they do close at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. Note that these markets are closed during public holidays and on the weekends. Zabu says it's a no hassle. It's definitely a go-getter for you to invest in government bonds and securities in there. Zabu, my money, my future, powered by Alltex East Africa, which says do something new. Now, what can you do today? Invest in government bonds. When I do return after the break, I'll be joined by Barija Andrew to give you the latest from entertainment business and, of course, the sports business, something that you would definitely want to look up to. Good morning.